Well, that was a lot of fun today. Maybe I should retire and dedicate my life to trolling people on the internet because I'm so thin-skinned. Hi, June. Hi, Audrey, whatever one you are. Anyway, Odds, I never took any live down. You're lying again. And if you want to spend the time trying to stalk me, well, what's new with that? That's what you do anyway. Nobody, well, I'm not going to spend the time stalking you. It'd take me years. I've been doing it for a very long time. You know, today, well, you idiot trolls are wasting your time. Your own country is suffering. Trump made it so that the average person going to the New York Knicks game couldn't even afford to go. He put barricades, had barricades and security everywhere. And if you haven't seen it yet, you should take a look. The entire stadium booed him. Had to make everything about him. A lot like Audrey. Troll. Not only that, well, listen to some of you trolls go on and on. You're so worried about your brother that was in the service or your uncle, and you respect your military. Yet your military, if you weren't aware of this, they've been bombing all night. There's no peace agreement. Israel's bombing Iran, and Iran's bombing Israel. And United States tried bombing Iran, and they bombed right back. A month ago, your service members that you were living on a burned out ship, one had lost 30-some pounds because he didn't have enough to eat, because they're not being provided enough. Your country is bleeding money. Your groceries are going up. Your gas is going up. And your president came right online and said he doesn't give a damn. Doesn't give a shit about what happens to the average person. I don't know if you've seen how verbally abusive he was to that woman reporter who did absolutely nothing to him. I thought he was going to have a heart attack. He got so mad at her because she wasn't willing to kiss his ass and say things that are only comfortable to him. And your 250-year anniversary is coming up. and it's being celebrated with a wrestling match in the front yard of the White House. And on the east side, there's a big hole. If you've seen drone stuff on that, it's disgusting. And yet, all that you talk about is shit and trash. You spend more time talking about me than you do the betterment of your own country. Though I haven't checked it yet today, but I think the job market went up a bit, which that's a good thing. So it's starting to look like United States is in another forever war like Vietnam. The only time you get to see what's actually going on over there and where your tax dollars are being spent and where how your service members are being treated is if somebody's able to sneak out some video footage. Oh, there's another good thing that happened today. Trump's name is being removed from the John Kennedy Center. I'm glad about that. But see, the thing is, even when Trump is gone, you're going to have to rebuild. It's not like you're going to get somebody new in there and all of a sudden every other country in the world is going to just go, hey, let's go back to the way it was. It's going to be a long haul, and things are not going to be right for a lot of years. Economists are saying that if the Strait of Hormuz doesn't get open by July, that the food costs are going to be astronomical. Now, I don't know about you, but even in Canada, they're a bit expensive. And that down in Texas, well, your beef's fucked. Because that friggin' fly or worm got back in. So your beef's going to skyrocket even worse than it is. And yet, you spend your days on the internet trolling with people. I did it today. I don't know how you people do it. Day in, day out. I really don't. That's what occupies your mind. It's insanity to me. And you all don't realize when you're talking that you are offending other people. See, I know when I'm offending you, but that's because you've offended me first. And I don't do it every day. Not like you guys do. And nor would I want to. Hi, Ladybug. Now, I had to laugh when I listened to Hungry's channel tonight. And Hungry, I'm not offended by this in the least. But it's just what I'm doing is pointing out to people on the internet how they don't realize when they're on a public platform, they're talking and they don't realize what they're saying. So this is a very silly and thin-skinned thing. On his live tonight, he said to me that he thinks that I should do lives while he was behind a black screen. Now that's kind of funny to me, as though I've never done lives. Between Robin, June, Beverly, and Roadhard, I'm the only one that has done lives. I did them for a year. Robin doesn't do lives. Jenny Rhodes is scared to show her face. In June, well, she's long given up on caring about anything. But yet, you're telling me I should do lives. You think I should come on and tell you about my life and show my face? Well, I have, more than any of you. Now, I know Hungry didn't mean anything by that, but it's just basically showing you what these reaction channels and drama channels, how they create more drama, more drama. And I know that. Hey, Rhonda, did you do any gardening today? So I don't go into other people's lives or other people's channels and tell them how they should do their channel or tell them what I think they should be doing. I might try to give them a little bit of advice. I might try to help them. But if somebody wants to do their channel live or behind a dark screen, I could care less. And the other thing that Robin keeps forgetting to mention to Hungry is that I used to do lives walking all over the place. Now I don't do them anymore because I'm tired of it. I'm over it. I've done this for, 5 years now? 4 years. We've all know what you... yeah, I know. There are people that know a lot more what I look like than Robin, or what I look like than Jenny, what I look like than June, or Bev. You've seen me many times doing lives. But I'm at a point where I simply don't give a shit anymore. I didn't do anything either, except troll with the trolls today. Hi, Hungry. How you doing? What you doing? I like your laugh, by the way, Hungry. It's contagious. And I have no intention. So did you know, Hungry, I used to do lives And I would take my phone with me and walk all over the place. Robin knows that. Well, that's just the thing, Hungry. I've showed my face for well over a year. There's nothing wrong with showing your face at all. I don't need you to tell me that there's nothing wrong with showing my face. And out of this group that you did a reaction on, I'm the one that showed my face the most. I used to do lives just like Dar. I used to have upwards of 100 people viewing me at once. Rhonda, Ladybug, was there. They all know what I look like. They all watched it. But I'm just at a point where I don't care. I'm getting old. Mm. Well, no, because I'm not doing them anymore. I'm sorry. But I'm just not at that point. You know where you get to the point where you're like, okay, I need a break from this for a while, or I'm done. That's that's where I'm at. But Robin in there basically, going on, giving you the impression that I don't show my face is an absolute lie. And Rhonda, right there, has been with me since the very beginning. The only place, the only time Robin's ever showed her face is on Dar's show, and Dar's held the phone up. That's it. So it should be Robin. You should be telling to come on and do lives, not me. And actually, you can go on her channel and you will see in her playlists, she does have some of my old videos. Did you see my first live? See, back then, that was a lot of fun. But Hungry will tell you, you have to be in the right frame of mind to do it in order to do that. Like doing a live, it looks easy, but sometimes it's not. And I could have told you that Hungry's done them before too, because how he says, subscribe and all that stuff. I remember when I used to do that. I don't owe, and neither does anybody on YouTube, owe another explanation to what they do on their channel or why they do it. It's as simple as that. I didn't stop doing my lives because of those trolls. I don't give a shit about them that much. I just can't be bothered with them anymore. Except for today, I felt like coming out and telling the truth. I'm getting to the point where it's just, fuck it. By the way, Hungry, Chuck is Roman Catholic. He was an altar boy. Now, I'm First Nations, and I believe in the grandfather teachings, which is very, very similar to the church, the average Christian church. You try to do the best, you try to help other people, that stuff. That's how I grew up. And I just want to let you know, and I'm not bullshitting you, that if Robin remains in your channel, flooding your channel, that other people will be like me. Because they've been down the road with her. They know what she's like. Rhonda was actually one of the peeps at one time. And Rhonda has actually at one time trolled me with Audrey. Now, I don't know the story behind it, and I don't really care. It doesn't matter to me because I'm a very forgiving person. What did you say in there? Like Robin wanting to know why Dar is sitting on my messenger. I owe no explanation and should ask Dar. Like Robin waiting to know why Dar is sitting on my messenger. I owe no explanation. She should ask Dar. What question? Oh, yeah. But Robin used to have this thing where she controlled Dar's channel to the point where you could not even get on Dar's channel unless you talked to Robin first. Robin's a weird duck. And right after she got off your live, and I did that little 6-minute live to you, she posted a bunch of bullshit on her channel. She posted her channel accusing me of taking a live down, which I have not done. I haven't taken anything down today. And just being a smarmy bitch. The other thing that she lied to you about was the person who went real life, as she likes to call it first, was her. She is the one who called people. She is the one who texted people. And then what happened was people started calling her out on it. And she's still lying about it. Tonight she went to your channel and lied. I don't care if someone's on my channel or somebody's on Robin's channel or whatever, and they're on my channel. I could care less. What I care about is some creepy woman in Michigan that smokes dope on the daily and keeps files on me. That's creepy. And I don't know if you ever seen that video. I think I sent it to you about her putting about her, it's her real voice, where she is called and said she was going to stalk for the rest of her life. Well, she meant it. So, and that's not funny, and that's not fun, and that's what she does. She does it to Don Robinson, which you will see in my comment sections tonight. She's been trolling her for years, simply because Don disagrees with her. Don never goes to her page and does anything. She is involved with at least 4 channels that do nothing but troll people that she doesn't agree with. And in her crazy mind, she believes that she has the right to take those channels down. Now, tonight in your comment section, she was acting like, oh, it's no big deal to me. I'm not really that involved. Out of all of us over the past years, Robin is the one that has been most involved. You look at her page, her channel. She's got hundreds of stalking videos out there that she keeps file on. It's not enough to do that. She creates other channels and does the same thing, and she links them to her channel. And right now, to be honest, I wished I would have not spoke to you, because I feel guilty that I brought her to your channel. Because I know what she's like. But anyway, how's John doing, Rhonda? So the 250 birthday party's coming up, and the drone photo of the White House looks horrible. They're building a wrestling thing in front of it, and the East Wing's just in shambles. Like, that's sad. I really, growing up in America, I know, what it feels like to be proud and a patriot and all that, because that's how I grew up. And I know what America means to a lot of people. Americans. It means a lot. And it does break my heart to see what's going on over there. And I know that there's so many people that feel the same as I do, helpless. And you're right, Hungry. All anybody can do is pray and trust in God. I don't know if you all seen the way he treated that woman reporter, I think in Wisconsin. Now, coming from the farm background that I come from, I understand farming. I understand the minerals that are required, the fertilizer that is required. And when I go visit my cousin, that's big agricultural farming. The farm I grew up on when I was a kid, and by grown up on, I mean it was my grandparents' farm, and my mother was born on that farm. That farm has been in my family since almost around the time Canada became a country. And it was given to my great-great-grandfather as a, plot of land, and he built a log cabin, and then he had kids, and they had a lot of boys, and there were a lot of boys in my family. Now, around the time I came in, and remember it, I can still remember my uncle putting the horses on the leads and the harnesses and putting the milk cans on the sled and taking them. I used to sit on the sled with, and that was big fun when we were kids, is to ride out there and with him while he dropped him off at the road for the milkman. And at that time, my grandfather owned a farm that went from one town to another. He had acquired land over the years. Now, that farm was a hip, like the big old gray, the picturesque, beautiful gray, hip roof barn. And of course, I spent a lot of times with my cousins in the haylofts, and a lot of time in the, with the kittens and the baby cows and all that. That would have been when I was young. And as time went on, like around the 70s or 80s, things changed in farming a lot. And you either had to change with it or die. So by the 1980s, my cousin, female cousin, she now owned the farm. And she married a farmer, so they owned it together. And the way things were going, those old farms just couldn't make it anymore here in Canada. So they had to start trucking. After my dad retired, my dad used to go out with my cousin, and they would combine almost 24 hours around the clock. And then it would come back and be put in these big grain elevators, and then from there it would go into semi-trucks and be driven to the United States. By the time these days, we'll just go to these days. When the barn was taken down, it was so old and the beams in it were so big that they were able to be sold to like rich people in Toronto that wanted them for their lofts because they thought they looked cool. They were shipped all over Canada. And there was a big, giant, red brick Victorian home on that property. And over the years, there were no more big families. So eventually, that farm got taken down. You go out there now, there's a white brick ranch style home. That's what you'd see. And a John Deere museum. Because one of the things my father used to do with my cousin is they would take old John Deere tractors and get them in working order and making them look real good and all that. Well, my cousin now is in his 70s. And there's no barn, no big house, just that white brick ranch. Then across the street, there's a John Deere museum, which he built, he paid for. It's open to the public. Now, when I go out there, I still see that big old red brick farm home. I still see that big old barn. I see the chicken barns. I see where my Uncle Spence used to have his little house, and there were three or four stables next to it. My Uncle Spence would be sitting out there with a friend, and they'd be talking and having a cigarette or smoking a pipe. And in the stables would be 2 or 3 horses that us kids were never allowed to play with because they were racehorses. See, when you have a big farm home like that, what makes it a home is having the people to fill it. And back when I was a kid, there was still enough people to fill it. Now, it just got to the point by the 1980s, there were not enough kids being born. There weren't enough people to fill it. And it was getting so old that it was becoming too expensive for people to take care of, for anybody to take care of. The last one to live in it was my aunt. That's where a lot of those goodies that, the antiques and stuff I used to put online, that's where all those came from when they decided to empty out that house. And then it was gone. All that land out there had been, when you're a farmer, when one of my grandfather's sons, one of my uncles, or one of my aunts got married, the first thing my grandfather did is give him a plot of land to build a house. So over the years, the land got sold off. It got sold off to be to a plot for a cemetery. There's another plot out there that was sold off to become a drive-in. As a matter of fact, my biological mother, her first job when she was 16 years old was working in that drive-in. There is nothing left out there that, when I turn that corner, that is identifiable to what I grew up with. Now these days, my second cousins, they're 2 boys and a girl, and they farm land that encompasses 3 counties. They don't own the land, they lease it. They lease it because there's so many farmers these days that aren't using all their land. So they farm that land, they plant, they combine. They come back to the grain elevators. There's quite a few grain elevators there now. And the trucks, they truck them all over the United States and all over Canada. So when I'm talking to my cousin, she's putting in fertilizer orders that are millions of dollars. And when she puts those orders in, she does it a year in advance. So when I go out there to say hi, we get gabbing, and she tells me what's going on with farmers. And it's not much better here in Canada than it is in the United States. Yes. Yeah, I know. They're opted out of planting because they either don't have the fertilizer to make it worth their while, and not only that, you got to remember, diesel is so expensive. The price of diesel. So to do all that work, and of course some of the farmers, whatever they're planting, they don't have people to work the fields. So, I knew a year ago here in Canada, was it 2 years ago maybe, that they did not allow my cousin. She put her order in for her fertilizer, and the government here in Canada said, no, can't give you that much. They were only able to plant 3/4 of what they normally could plant and still make a profit at the end of the day, make it worth their while. Now it's got much more severe. And they are worried. They're worried that they won't be able to make a profit. They're worried that they won't be producing food to the level that they've always done here in Canada. And, their kids, well, they're all in their 30s and 40s. They've got farms of their own, and they help their dad with combining the land that they lease. The one place I worked at, the maple syrup place, I got that job because my cousin had leased land off them. So I knew them. So I went out there one day to talk to my cousin. He was in the field. The owners of the land came out. I kind of knew him a little bit. And they asked me, hey, are you working? And I said, nope, I just moved here. And they're like, do you want a job? We need somebody to make maple candy and maple butter and maple candy and maple butter. And I said, sure. And that's how I learned how to do that. I had no experience. Well, it's crazy expensive. The whole little farm thing that I grew up with as a kid, it's gone. You can't do it anymore. People can't do it anymore. And, when you come from a farm family that goes back as far as we do, just, it's almost, it's at the point now that the farmers are going, those guys work hard, like absolutely hard. They're just getting to the point that they're just not willing to do it because they can't afford to keep up. Those combines, they cost a lot of money. And when they break down, and like I said, the gas in them. So my family, that part of my family, is why I know about farming. And that old house out there, well, my adopted mother was born in that. And because of it, and because of being on that land and so many boys being born over the generations, I always laugh and say when I'm either in Middlesex, Oxford, or Elgin County, if I walk into a cemetery, I say hi to my ancestors. But that way of life that I grew up with there is gone. After my father went to the States, a lot of times in the summer, as soon as the school was out, we could always go back and stay at my grandfather's farm. And sometimes we did it and sometimes we didn't. Or I always had the option of going to the reserve and staying with my real mother. And I did both. So I think all my life I've been running back and forth between United States and America, or Canada. For the most part, it's just always seemed like one place to me. I never recognized it as two different countries as a child. Never. I mean, I went to school every day, pledged allegiance, hand on my heart, pledged allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. So I don't know if anybody agrees with me or not, but this is just my opinion. I don't care who runs that country over there, but you gotta recognize by now that Donald Trump just is not capable. And it would be one thing if he was like Joe Biden, who was just not capable but really not causing any shit. But Donald Trump is not capable, and he's out destroying the world. I think to myself, like here I am sitting tonight, here you guys are sitting wherever you're sitting, and here Cuba is down there with no electricity, hardly any food, and it's about to get worse because they haven't been able to farm because they've had no diesel. Their water is becoming scarce because they don't have anything to run generators or water filtration plants. Their hospitals are closed. If you are having a baby or are severely ill, sucks to be you, they're dying. There's no medication for anybody. Those people are dying, all because of Donald Trump. And nobody's hardly even talking about that. You know, as you sit here, as I sit here in central air, refrigerators full of food, pantry full of food, restaurants of all kinds around me if I want to go out to eat. That's how these people are living tonight, all because of Donald Trump. And I know many people in the States feel helpless, just like we do here in Canada. We feel helpless. We watch our politicians and we watch the shit on the news and on YouTube and all that. And we know we need change, but it's like, God, you just feel trapped and helpless. And I think there's a lot of people out there right now that feel that way. And I also think it's why YouTube is full of so many nasty, hateful people. And then you think about the division. Unbelievable. You know, I thought when I was still living in America, it was the whole black and white thing, right? And there was so much progress made from the 1960s on to kind of heal things. And now because of Donald Trump, it's right back to Christians don't like non-Christians, and Democrats don't like Republicans, and it's just sickening. And it's even worse because Donald Trump decided to go to the Middle East and stir up a bunch of shit. And now America is, well, like they're saying, could possibly be in the midst of another Vietnam. The Iranians are not backing down. I watch Truth Social. I subscribe to it. And Donald Trump is just bullshit. You want to talk about gaslighting? It's unbelievable. And it, he's put out things like the Obamas as being monkeys. It's just ripped people apart. And hopefully you're in an area where it's not doing that. Hopefully you have enough money to live comfortably. But you should pray to thank your God, because there are a lot of people right now that are in dire straits. People complained about the money United States was putting towards Africa and all that. But the money that you guys were putting towards that was to keep diseases down. Like to keep that fly worm or whatever it was that's now in Texas that is destroying the beef. It was to keep Ebola from being in the country. And it wasn't a lot of money, nothing compared to what that guy is going through for the most just ridiculous things. And people complained, well, why should we be doing that for that country? And so that Doge went in and Trump went in and they cut all the funding out for all of that. So that's why this stuff is starting to rise. Measles, that's another one that's starting to rise. Because there are no funding and no money being given to the people, the scientists, the doctors, the nurses, the teams that risk their own life to keep that away from us over here. And that's all been taken away. I'll tell you, whoever gets to be the next president is going to have a hell of a job on their hands. Screwworms, yeah, that's what they're called. Those are bad. Really bad. I mean, I live a pretty comfortable life, but I don't do it these days with a good conscience, because I know the suffering of others. And for some reason, I mean, I know I could just bury my head in the sand and pretend everything was wonderful in the world, in the supposedly, according to Trump, we're in the golden age. And I could pretend that because with my life the way it is, I don't have to struggle that much. Actually, I don't have to struggle at all. But my conscience will not allow me to do that. I worry for people, and I always have. That is why over the years, I did as much charity work as I could because I thought it was the best thing to do, to help people. But then that kind of goes along with my family because even to this day, out on that farm, my cousins, who don't even live near it anymore, still come out in the wintertime and plow the driveways for all the old neighbors that can't do it themselves. When the Great Depression was going on, my great-grandfather took many, many people, men mostly. They would get off the railroad tracks and they would be starving. And my grandfather would put them up in the barn, and I should say great-grandfather would put them up in the barn, and my grandmother would make them a plate of food. And I mean, these could have been very dangerous people, but my grandfather was 6'5", or my great-grandfather, and so was my grandfather. He would always go out with my great-grandmother to take the plate out to the barn, and he would let them sleep in the barn overnight. And if he felt, after he got to know them or whatever, that they weren't dangerous, he would put them to work. I know. I can't either, Rhonda. I can't either. I don't care. That bothers me. I to think somebody is going without food, that bothers me. That's why I did all those. Remember when I used to do the food bags? I was so happy. I'll tell you, by the time I was done a day doing that, because there were other people other than me doing it, but I did so much talking to try to sell those bags. At the end of the night, or at the end of the day, I would lose my voice. And I was so proud of myself when I raised over $20,000 for the food bank. I couldn't believe it. Now, I'm not doing that anymore because I'm not in a position to do it. Heck, I'm not even supporting my old union. Chuck's doing it for me. No, it was like it bothers me when I watch the news in the United States and the areas. So some of the areas that I've lived in, and I mean lived in, I went to school there. I had lived there. Let me see. Hibbing, Minnesota. Lived there. Coldest place on the earth. I swear to God, it's cold up there. Marquette, Michigan. Negaunee, Michigan. Iron Mountain, Michigan. And that's cold up there too, but it's beautiful, stunning, pristine. I went to school up there. Now, some of the places I can remember why we're there, why my dad was there. My dad was a engineer, and he used to repair or work on like factories, um, nuclear facilities, all sorts of stuff. Um, Lower Peninsula, Michigan. So many places there, but mostly I spent most of my time in the Thumb area. Though I did at one time live in the eastern part of Michigan, which it's not as pretty as the western part. Illinois. Oh my gosh. Aurora, Illinois. Cherry Beach, Illinois. Um, Peking, Illinois. Peoria, Illinois. Oh, I lived in Indiana, Gary, Indiana too, but not for very long. Where else? Kentucky. I lived in Henderson, Kentucky, and Cloverport, Kentucky. I looked up Cloverport the other day. That is such a pretty, pretty town. There's nothing to it, and it was a dry county. And the reason I looked it up is because I wanted to see if something was still there. The town only had one restaurant, you know, the village restaurant. And that's where everybody gathered and went for lunch or dinner or whatever, whenever you were in town. And like I said, in town consisted of about 10 stores, if even that. There's a restaurant there. And that restaurant, I wonder if they know that today or it's even still there. I seen the restaurant on the video, but I wasn't able to see inside the restaurant. Well, inside that restaurant when I was young, what was on the walls was old steamboat lumber. They used to have steamboats that went up and down the river. And there was, I guess, an old steamboat, and they, what's it called, clad shipping wood or whatever. And then on one of the walls, I mean, this place had to been, ceilings were, 20 foot high, old building. And on one of the walls, there was a beautiful, beautiful hand-painted mirror, or mural. And I wondered to myself, was that still there? Or do the people that own the building now, is it covered up and they don't know about it? But Cloverport was absolutely beautiful. And then let's see, where else? I spent about a month in San Bernardino, California. But I mean, I've been all over. Oh, I lived in Albuquerque, New Mexico, on Montgomery Road, which is like the biggest road or boulevard in Albuquerque. And that was due to my dad's job. The only thing that's comparable to that is somebody who's an army brat. That's the only other type of people that I knew growing up that had a similar type of upbringing as I did. So yeah, I'm a different person. Very different than most people. Now, as a kid, I didn't mind it as a little kid, but as a teenager, I hated it. Because, you'd meet a guy you thought was cute and you didn't want to leave, or you really liked the school you went to, that type of thing. You know. But when I look back on it now, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, how lucky I was to experience all that and to see all that. How fortunate. And that's what's made it, that's why Drunk Tour is always saying I'm a know-it-all. Because I'm not a know-it-all. I've just had more experiences and different experiences in life. Well, I'm going to let you go. And I'm done. I swear to God, I'm done. And I had a lot of fun today. But it's not going to happen again. Have a good night, everybody. Bye now.